In 1912, completing a ship of this scale cost what would be $400 million today. The RMS Titanic was designed to be a floating five-star hotel, complete with heated swimming pools, Turkish baths, and ornate grand staircases. The vice president of the White Star Line, the company that built the ship, stood in front of the public and made a bold declaration. He claimed the vessel was entirely unsinkable. This diagram shows the direct result of that overconfidence. While there were over 2,200 passengers and crew on board, the ship was equipped with only 20 lifeboats. That capacity could safely hold roughly 1,200 people, leaving nearly half the ship entirely without a safety net. By the night of April 14th, the ship was crossing the Atlantic. The moon was hidden, plunging the ocean into pitch blackness and severely reducing visibility. Bobbing in that freezing water were massive mountains of solid ice. Radio operators from nearby vessels sent 7 separate warnings about the dense ice fields, but Captain Edward John Smith ignored the alerts. The captain was facing immense pressure from White Star Line's chairman, Joseph Bruce Ismay. Management wanted to complete the maiden voyage in exactly 6 days to prove the massive vessel was also the fastest on the ocean. Earlier that day, at 2 p.m., Captain Smith actually handed Ismay a printed ice warning. Rather than ordering the crew to slow down, Ismay stuffed the paper into his pocket to keep it hidden, ensuring the ship maintained its blistering 40-kilometer-per-hour pace. The vessel was capable of navigating those waters safely, but prioritizing a corporate speed record over basic navigation protocols severely compromised the crew's ability to react when the danger finally appeared. At 11:39 p.m., a lookout named Frederick Fleet spotted an enormous mass rising out of the dark. It was an iceberg the size of a football field, weighing an estimated 1.5 million tons. He quickly rang the warning bells 3 times. The deck officer immediately ordered the ship to turn left, but in a moment of sheer panic, steersman Robert Hitchens misunderstood the command. He turned the steering wheel to the right, sending the bow directly toward the ice. 1 minute later, at 11:40, they collided. While regular ice cannot cut through steel, the physics of a metal ship ramming into 1.5 million tons of solid mass at high speed caused catastrophic deformation to the ship's outer plates. This animated cross-section shows exactly why the ship's primary safety feature failed. The Titanic featured a reinforced double bottom, designed to protect the ship if it ran aground. But the Iceberg scraped along the single-layered sidewall, entirely bypassing that protection. The immense pressure popped the rivets along the side, breaching 6 of its 16 watertight compartments. The ship was engineered to stay afloat if up to 4 compartments flooded. Water pouring into that 6th compartment crossed a hard mathematical threshold. From that exact second, no emergency pump or repair could keep the vessel above water. By midnight, Captain Smith assessed the damage and understood his ship was going down. He ordered his crew to fire distress rockets into the night sky and broadcast SOS signals over the radio. There was another ship, the SS Californian, resting for the night just 37 kilometers away. That is well within visual range of the horizon. The crew on the Californian actually saw the rockets bursting in the sky and reported them to their commanding officer. But Captain Stanley Lord dismissed the lights as a rich man's party. Because their radio operator had turned off the equipment for the night, they never received the SOS. At 12:20 a.m., a different vessel, the RMS Carpathia, successfully picked up the distress call and immediately diverted its course to help. But even at its top speed, it was 3.5 hours away. Meanwhile, the evacuation process was falling apart. The passengers had been heavily marketed the idea of an unsinkable ship, and many simply refused to believe they were in danger. Because of this hesitation, the first lifeboat lowered into the water had a capacity of 65 people, but only carried 28. Every layer of security collapsed in sequence. The steering mistake caused the crash, the missing lifeboats limited the escape, and the Californian's turned-off radio eliminated the immediate rescue. By 2 a.m, the front compartments were entirely submerged. The tremendous weight pulled the bow down, forcing the massive propellers high into the air. At 2:20 a.m., the sheer stress on the hull caused the vessel to snap in two and slip beneath the surface. Roughly 1,500 people were left treading water in the dark. The ocean temperature was -2 degrees Celsius. At that extreme cold, most succumbed to severe hypothermia within minutes. When the Carpathia finally reached the site, they found bodies floating in the water. By the next morning, news of the massive loss of life reached land, leaving the public in total disbelief. The sheer scale of the negligence forced international governments to intervene. They established an international ice patrol to track frozen mass in the ocean and signed the SOLAS Treaty, finally mandating by law that passenger ships carry enough lifeboats for every single person on board. It took over 70 years for ocean explorer Robert Ballard to finally locate the wreckage, nearly 4 kilometers deep. Today, iron-eating bacteria are rapidly consuming the metal framework, and scientists estimate the entire structure will completely disintegrate by the year 2030. The decaying hull sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic remains a stark reminder. It proves that no amount of capital, luxury, or engineering confidence can overpower the cold, quiet forces of nature.